I thought I'd hammer home some points about the First Amendment because, as always, TJ is misinformed as to how American government works, how the judicial branch works, and this causes him to have very strange opinions on the First Amendment. And the reason I know he's misinformed is because he was invoking Thomas Jefferson. And it seems like he's suggesting that because I've said some things that disagree with something Thomas Jefferson must have said, therefore I must be wrong. Now, this is strange for a number of reasons. The first is that Thomas Jefferson did not write the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. In fact, he didn't even vote on it. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and he is very influential in the ideas and the philosophy behind American government. But Madison wrote the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Madison should be our first source if we want to actually learn about what these people thought the First Amendment said when they created it. But even beyond this is not how we determine what the First Amendment means and whether or not something is constitutional. I mean, if you understand basic constitutional law, you would have heard of Marbury v. Madison that established judicial review, that in order to enforce the Constitution, the Supreme Court needs to be able to interpret the Constitution. So, people bring their cases to the Supreme Court, and essentially what happens is the justices vote on it to determine whether or not something is constitutional or unconstitutional. That's most of the time, right? That's how it works. So if you're going around saying, Thomas Jefferson said this thing about how government should work, therefore he agrees with me on the First Amendment, you're missing the entire point. No, it's the Supreme Court that determines what the First Amendment says. In fact, if you want a very pragmatic view of this, they vote on it. They don't even have to debate on it. They don't even have to have good legal reasoning. Of course, they have this idea of precedent, that the Supreme Court should not be actually doing policy. They should look at the decisions that came before them and try and use that as a guide to what we should do in the future. This causes small changes to how the law works. And you can sometimes get big changes, but the idea is we need to look to past Supreme Court cases if we want to look at what is constitutional. So, TJ, again, this is up to you. What case would suggest that the First Amendment protects you from private firms enacting their terms of service? Please give me examples. Now, of course, we should think this is pretty silly from the beginning, because if there was any semblance of legal reasoning that this could happen, we would expect that places like Pornhub and other porn groups would try and get their material on YouTube. They're not doing it, and it's for a reason, because the First Amendment does not protect you in a private contract. The First Amendment is between you and the government. That's how it works. But we get this strange statement from TJ, and he believes because Thomas Jefferson said something along the lines of, we need to change the Constitution every 20 years, therefore Thomas Jefferson agrees with TJ. Now, TJ reads Thomas Jefferson like he reads the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He looks up on Google or something a quote that sounds slightly like what he believes, and then uses that to suggest that this is exactly how we should interpret it. That's not how it works. If you actually look at what Thomas Jefferson believed, if you look at historical records, he was not this, yeah, government power should just expand, man, with the times. YouTube's this new thing, and, protect private communication networks. Am I right? No. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding condescending, but this is like obvious stuff that you can find very easily. This is 8th grade history. Thomas Jefferson was very much afraid of the government. And in the quote that TJ is referencing, Jefferson wants us to keep changing the government so that we can control it, right? We keep it from getting too big. It's not that he wants powers to expand, it's that he wants to have a constitutional amendment every so often. Or just changing the Constitution and changing the government. Thomas Jefferson was a strict constructionist. In fact, this debate between him and Hamilton is very famous. Hamilton believed that the Constitution should be interpreted to give government various powers, such as economic policy, establishing banks, and other things. Jefferson believed that the government should be very limited, that they only have the powers as stated in the Constitution. So, no, TJ, Jefferson did not agree with you. You need to do more than just doing a quick Google search. You need to actually look at the context of what this person is saying and take numerous sources from the same person to get some type of idea of what Jefferson believes. But let's say that TJ actually wants a constitutional amendment, and that's fine, right? TJ, if you want to change the Constitution to say that the First Amendment protects you from private companies, have at it, Hoss. But you should know the consequences of that. If private firms, or anyone in general on communication networks, can't establish a brand or have these First Amendment rights to essentially limit their own content, it would be crazy town, right? Because it would mean that people couldn't control their own channels. And unless, TJ, you're willing to open up your channel to allow anyone to post on it, if you're allowing someone like me to post on your channel, then I'll take you seriously if you want this amendment. Though I don't think you want an amendment. So here's the point. You're wrong about the First Amendment. You're wrong about Jefferson. Stop talking about this subject because you're misinforming people. You have a number of subscribers, and they will say things that are wrong. They will think they have rights that are wrong. In fact, because they're going to be so misinformed, they won't be able to do things that would actually change YouTube for the better. Like, I think it's actually bullshit that your videos were taken out on such loose grounds. But the way you fix that is dealing with YouTube, not invoking the First Amendment. And the way you change secular rights is actually voting people in and fighting for your rights, not just declaring that the First Amendment protects you for everything that you want it to. And that's the lesson I'm trying to drive home. Anyways, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. And as always, thanks for watching.